This is Python's Paradise. This is your host, Greg Gilbert, aka the Python Hyena, straight out of Fredericton, New Brunswick, Canada, but rocking a beautiful downtown Toronto background behind me because, I consider Toronto my true home. And of course, 1 month from today, you can catch me at Niagara Falls for Frightmare in the Falls uh, for that convention. And so looking forward to that. Right now, of course, no, I should never say never, but it'll be my last Frightmare in the Falls. Um, Nothing against the event, just travel and this and that with it. So so this will be my fourth attendance for that event. So anyway, that'll happen then. Looking forward to it. But today we have a podcaster on the show with me today. I've been checking out his stuff on YouTube, and yeah, looking forward to having him on here today and having him share his views. He does a horror film show, and I'll get him to introduce that. Folks, I give you Kyle Curtis Flett. How do you do, Kyle?
Doing good, man. Like I said, I appreciate the invite for you have me on your show. I'm Kyle Chris Flett. I do have my own channel, Flett Movies and Pop Culture 13, where I do reviews, interviews, and a lot of fun live streams lately. Um, I talk about horror. Well, I talk about any movie, but I love talk about horror on that channel for sure. And yeah, this is gonna be a lot of fun today. I appreciate you inviting me.
Yeah. Well, I'm always looking for new channels and personalities to listen to, especially when I'm at work. I work as a cleaner overnight, so uh, that way I could channel him to my headphones and just get lost in that, and it makes work go a little easier, a little faster, and a lot more fun. So anyway, yeah, I got uh, listening to your channel and you said I haven't listened to any of your interviews. Not yet, anyway. I generally do an interview show myself. I interview people. Been doing this since 2015. So I generally interview people. But you do live streams. I've never done a live stream. You do rankings and whatnot, and you also, of course, interview people as well. But before we get into that, I would like to know what led you into your passion for horror films and got you to where you are now.
Well, it started when I was very, very young. I I watched my very first horror film. It was The Exorcist, and I was blown by that film, and also Halloween. The Shining was my first three horror films to gateway to horror, and ever since then, it just went from there. And I loved horror, and the horror is my favorite genre. I love other genres as well, but I love horror, and it started off with The Exorcist and Halloween and The Shining. So those three films are close to my heart. I still love those films to these days. They're the reason why I love horror to begin with. Um, and and we have and then horror. We got amazing community in horror. We all share the same passion, which I love, and that's why I wanted to do my channel finally, because I always wanted a platform where I can share my passion for the movies that I love, and that's where I started my channel 3 years ago, doing this. So that's why. So yeah, horror. Just something about horror films in general, especially from the 70s, 80s, and the 90s, and even 60s and 40s, 30s and 30s as well. Especially for the universal monsters like Frankenstein, Wolfman, Dracula, Mummy, and The Visible Man. All those movies, even Hitchcock films, because Hitchcock, had his own style doing horror films, and you can study his films, and there's so many other films you can study, become filmmaker. But horror, there's something special about horror that just makes me love movies in general. So
I've Alfred Hitchcock changed the way I view movies because in 1996 I attended a midnight screening of Psycho, and it was my first midnight screening I ever attended. And I remember it was put on by the university, and the tagline was, "Come and see the film that scared your parents." And I went to that, and it changed the way I view film. And it got me into a lot of his films, which led me to look into the filmography of other actors like James Stewart, Cary Grant, the gorgeous Grace Kelly, of course. And but it's interesting because the second year I was doing this podcast in 2016, I had like when people pass away, I do tribute interviews where I get somebody that's related to the deceased on. And I had Alfred Hitchcock's granddaughter on the show here.
Oh wow.
And yeah, that was pretty amazing. And talk about Hitchcock. We did our top five favorite Hitchcock movies. Between she and I, the only film we had in common on both our lists was Psycho, which was number three on both our list. So that was a great chat. Now, do you have a favorite Hitchcock movie?
Yeah, my top, I love Hitchcock films. My top, well, I have three actually. My Psycho, The Birds, Vertigo, Rear Window. Those are my top four because I think those are the what define what a Hitchcock film is, and especially with Psycho. I mean, because remember he did something different that movies, filmmakers weren't doing back then. He killed off his main character with Janet Leigh because he thought she was supposed to be the main character. He spent like 20, 30 minutes with her until she gets killed in that famous shower scene with that awesome score. And yeah, and Cycle, especially way he created mystery with thriller, which I think was crap, especially the shot. Remember when Norman's carrying the mom and you can shoot it, so it looks like you can tell, Norman's actually playing her at that point
Hmm.
still, and it's the
Yeah.
mom talking. And I thought that was a cool shot, especially when how he kills Applegrass down the stairs.
Hmm.
And then even birds, he made birds scary too, and especially when they're attacking her in the film. She's stuck in the phone booth and they're attacking everybody from outside. I thought was going in Vertigo. That was quite the thriller as well with James Stewart. Um, and especially you find out the end of, a certain character was, about a certain character at the end. And even with Rear Window, that is a film that's just, amazing too, especially the opening when he's watching from the camera, he sees everybody in their apartment. But no, Hitchcock, was able to create suspense. You know, he introduced suspense to people, and other directors were able to affect suspense later on in their films. But yeah, I love those first four Hitchcock films.
Yeah, Rear Window was my favorite Hitchcock movies, and I love To Catch a Thief,
Oh
and I
yeah,
like
that's another
Psych.
one.
Yeah, I love Psycho. Um, North by Northwest, I really like, and I really like Frenzy as
Oh
well.
yeah,
Which, yeah,
I forgot about that one. It's been a while since I watched one, but I do remember enjoying that one as well.
yeah. So I'm a big Hitchcock fan, and so nonetheless, I did have his granddaughter on the show, and that was a lot of fun. So it changed the way I view films. But nonetheless, you mentioned The Exorcist. Now, I would have been 1 years old in 1973 when The Exorcist came out, and I didn't see it then, but I have since seen it five times on the big screen. So and I've seen different reactions to it. It still definitely works on its audience. Nonetheless, you've done interviews on your show. Now, I don't know the list of people you've interviewed, so forgive me on that. But I was wondering if you have you ever had Eileen Dietz on your show?
No, I actually haven't. But I have like interviewed like celebrities, you know, Tom McLaughlin, Friday Theme Part 6 director, Tom Matthews, Dave Sheridan, who was Doofy in Scary Movie, Lauren Marie Taylor, who was Vicky in Friday 13 Part 2. I even had also recently just had my own very first Michael Myers on the channel, which was Brad Lorien, who played Myers in Halloween Resurrection, and even interviewed the director of When Evil Lurks, Damien Rugna. So, and even Halloween 4 director Dwight H. Little. So, but no, I haven't had her on my channel yet.
You should reach out to her. She got her on my Facebook friends list. She's very accessible, and she would do your show. She was the Pazuzu Demon.
Oh, really? Oh, that's
Yeah.
right. Yeah, I just realized the name. Yeah, she was the voice of the demon. Yeah,
Yes.
that's very cool.
Actually,
I'll definitely reach
mm,
out to her for sure.
I got this from her.
Well, that's very cool.
That is her face. That is her face. She was the Pazuzu Demon.
Yeah, you know, that's such a creepy, iconic look when it first appears too, out of
Mm-hmm.
nowhere. And then of course it shows up throughout the whole film. Especially when geez, Father Karras is, you know, having that sequence about his mother and you know, with the subway and everything. And
Mm-hmm.
then you see the face appear there. So yeah, it's definitely an iconic face for sure.
Yeah. So I'd recommend reaching out to Eileen. I met her at Frightmare in the Falls last year, and she's very accessible. I had her on the show here 3 times, so yeah, I recommend if you want to talk about The Exorcist, she's definitely one to chat with.
Sounds good.
Yeah, so reach out to her. But anyway, yeah, my star, I was afraid of horror films growing up. Used to be petrified of them. And I think I remember Friday, no, Friday nights. We used to have in the summertime, our cousins would come over, and my father and uncles would go fishing and whatnot. You know, that was a big thing. But there used to be my cousins and my older brother used to be right into horror films. I couldn't stomach them. I couldn't watch them because they would scare me. And I remember, Salem's Lot was on. Um, Children Shouldn't Play with Dead Things, Horror High, and they would scare the shit out of me. Now, I have an uncle that owned a video store from 1981 to 1988, and we used to rent movies from there. Now, I remember, I've told this story many times, but I'll tell it again. Uh, my older brother and my cousins baited me into watching Friday the 13th Part 2.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
And it was the first time I'd seen a naked woman. Thank you, Kirsten Baker. Um, and that was where mom came in and turned the TV off. But they ended up turning it back on later. And I would watch it like this. And I kept watching and because I'm still a very much a traditionalist. I believe in good over evil. I like to see evil get vanquished. And I think the reason I kept watching is because I wanted to see the killer that's got the burlap sack over his head get his. I did not get my wish. And I remember it was a long drive home because I was stressed out over that movie. And I didn't care for the blood. I didn't care for the gore and all that stuff. And I think what happened was is that my older brother was trying to bait me into watching more horror movies. And I was like, no, absolutely not. They give me nightmares. And he created the argument. He said, Greg, if you can watch Conan the Barbarian or the Beastmaster, the amount of blood in those, then why can't you watch a Friday the 13th movie? And my response was, is because Jason wasn't fighting Conan.
That's for sure.
Conan would not have been running from Jason. I'm sorry, but he would not have.
No, he would have took him on.
Yeah. So that was my argument. But he did because Conan the Barbarian had a lot of blood in it. I get his point, you know? So one night he says to me, he challenged me to watch Friday the 13th, the final chapter. And he says, he promised me that Jason died. And technically, he was right.
Yeah,
He was right. And I watched the movie like this. It did scare me, but I got through it. Jason did die. But something happened to me during that screening because after the movie was done, I was kind of like, can we go back and watch parts two and three? Now, I say parts two and three because my uncle's store, they had the first six there for some weird reason. I remember the part one tape was broken, so I never found out about the origins of Jason until a birthday party years later. But and for we never saw five and six, but we through the store, but we saw parts two, three, and four. So we watched those, and I got hooked. Now, like yourself, I like all movies of all kinds. You know, I love all kinds of movies. I've interviewed people from different movies, but it's interesting, you know, that I've been able to face the horror films, and this past Friday the 13th, I watched Friday the 13th, the final chapter, because, you know, Ted White to me is the definitive Jason, you know, and I had him on the show here twice before he passed.
oh, that's awesome.
Yeah, I was very happy to get him, and I got a signed hockey mask from him. So I was happy to get that. And to me, if they're going to do Jason, he should be the one that they look at to get inspiration from. So yeah,
For sure. And you did mention Pride 13 Part 4. That's my favorite of the franchise. And it's cool they brought back Tom Savini to come back to kill his monster at that point where he slides down the machete. I think that's definitely one of my favorite make effects. And there's definitely everyone's Friday 13 Part 4 takes everything that you love about Friday 13 franchise in one movie. I think it's the definitive Friday 13 movie, and yeah, Ted White was awesome as Jason. And it was great to how it ended. And of course, at that point you do think it was in, but now you know that studios will never like have wild chat because they're going to continue to make more as long as they're making money for sure.
yeah. Well, thing with Ted White, again, I had him on here twice. What a fascinating guy, because he did he was a stunt man, and he had worked with people like John Wayne, Clark Gable, Lee Marvin. Like that guy had a career that dated way back, and the stories he told. And again, he took the role seriously, and he made Jason threatening. He
Yeah,
made Jason scary. I don't like what they eventually did with Jason. They made him too much of a celebrated icon instead of something you're scared of. And that bothered me. I find when I watch that franchise, I go between parts four and six Jason Lives. I think Jason Lives is probably the best written, you know,
yeah.
and had so much fun stuff in Jason Lives. But But the final chapter to me was to me the scariest one, and I think a
I
lot of it,
agreed.
yeah, a lot of it was because of Ted White, and plus the characters in the movie, the victims. I know John Hughes had nothing to do with this movie, but the characters kind of had kind of a John Hughes kind of likeness to them.
For sure.
Yeah, there was something very John Hughes like about the characters in this movie because I think the cast managed to make the characters far better than what they might have been. So I'd like
Well,
that element of it. So
definitely for sure. It would have been interesting if John Hughes decided ever, like, if that was the case, if John Hughes decided like to write a horror film, would have been that's what you would exactly what he would have gotten, something like that with
yeah.
those characters.
Well, when Friday the 13th Part 7 came out, my older brother and I went and saw that in the theater. And since then, I have seen about half the franchise on the big screen. Now, I seen Part 7 in the theater. I saw Jason X in the theater. That was absolute shit, but I saw it in the theater. You'd think we were watching a comedy in that theater.
Yeah,
Yeah. I saw that in the theater, saw Freddy versus Jason in the theater, and I saw the reboot in the theater. I saw them when they came out.
yeah,
Part one, I saw at a midnight screening here. And on one of my trips to Toronto, I saw a midnight screening of Jason Lives.
nice.
Yeah. And it's funny because I'm good friends with Nancy McLaughlin, who played Lisbeth. And I had posted something on Facebook about it. And the following night, of course, she gave me a call. And I said to her, I said, I was watching you last night. She goes, I know. Yeah. She's somebody you should have on your show. I can connect you with her for sure.
Sounds good. I would
Yeah,
love to. Appreciate that.
Nancy is a lovely, lovely, lovely soul. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, because the only Friday 13 people I have had on was Tom Matthews, of course. Nice. Of course, I mentioned Lauren Marie Taylor, and then of course I had Deborah Voorhees on as well. So
I'm a
that was
co-producer on 13 Fanboy, and I've had Debbie Sue Voorhees on here 5 times, but I do not have a good relationship with her now.
oh, gotcha.
But let's put this way. I put 13 Fanboy on the ground. I videoed myself backing over it
I
with the
seen that.
car.
Yeah, I seen that. Yes.
Yeah. If you know anything about the past on that, I'm very pissed off with her, and I'm pissed off at Judy Aronson. Yep. They
Gotcha.
both wronged me. And not only did they wrong me, but they wronged a few others from that film too. Carrie Yates being one. And Carrie had nothing to do with what I was being accused of, but I got no love for 13 Fanboy anymore. I'm glad to have been part of it. What the silver lining is from that, though, is that Tracy Savage has been on my show 5 times, and Tracy and I still have a good friendship. And I'm going to go see her at Frightmare in the Falls. And Lar Park Lincoln still has a good connection with me.
Yeah, I have reached out to her. She's eventually going to come on, but it's what she had surgery recently, so she told me she has to heal, and then eventually she'll come on. So
Lar
I'll
is wonderful. You'll have a lot of fun with Lar Park Lincoln.
Yeah, I liked her character as Tina, and I do think Part 7 is my favorite look of Jason because this is how John Carl Beaker made him look and everything. I thought that was cool from a makeup perspective.
You want me to tell you, I have some major issues with Part 7, and a lot of it has to do with I can't pronounce his last name, so I'll say his original name on the movie, Kevin Blair. I hated the character of Nick. Number one, he was basically there as a potential fuck buddy for Tina. Basically, he didn't need to be in the movie. Number two, Why were they keeping him alive? I want one of the, I'm just going to say this right now, the worst scene in any one of these movies was in part seven for me. The worst scene.
Which one's that?
It's a scene where Kevin Blair is shooting at Jason and he bats the gun out of his hand and shoves him into the canoe, knocks him out. Okay, let's go back one movie. Part six. You had Tommy Jarvis and Horshack go to the graveyard to dig Jason up. Tommy needed to see if he was dead. Turns out lightning struck and they did that great Frankenstein
Yeah,
opener, you know? When Jason comes up out of the grave and it starts raining, so Tommy can't set him on fire, Horshack runs up behind him with a shovel, hits him in the back of the head. Jason turns around and does what?
knocks his heart out, rips his
Punches his
heart out.
heart out through him with his heart beating in his hand on the other side and allows his body to slide on down, drop into the coffin.
Yeah,
And I'm sitting there thinking, boy, Horshack could have been so lucky because Kevin Blair got pushed into a canoe. It was out of character for Jason, and it was like they were trying to keep this idiot alive. The Nick character ruined the movie for me because there's at least once or twice prior to that, he got swung against the wall and knocked out again and knocked out again.
yeah, and
Didn't like the, yeah, I
it's
hated that scene.
it's unfortunately the kills got butchered in that movie too. What could have been.
Well, Nick should have got butchered in that movie as well. Number one, when it comes to Final Girls should be Final Girl, not girl with a bunch of help. And I don't care what anybody says. I think Sidney Prescott and Scream is a horrible Final Girl. I'd say one of the worst because she's never done it without help. And by the way, I'm just going to say something I've never heard anybody else say but myself. Mia Goth, an ex, not only was a final girl, but she broke every one of the Scream rules. She got naked, she got drunk, she had sex, she did drugs, and she kicked ass. And she did it better than Sidney Prescott.
And what was so cool about Mia Goth, she played the double role in that too, as well.
Yes, she did. I
So,
love Mia Goth. She's great when she goes nuts.
and
You
even in
know,
Pearl, she was awesome. Like the
she
whole
was
monologue
great in
scene.
all three of them.
Yeah, even in Maxine, she was awesome.
Yeah.
And they're
Uh,
supposed to be doing a fourth one, apparently.
are they doing a fourth?
Well, Ty West was learning there might be a fourth movie, so we'll see if that actually happens or not.
Yeah. I love Mia Goth. But again, why not have telekinetic Tina versus Jason? Like, I find it hard going back to part seven because of Nick. And that scene, like I said, it was so uncharacteristic of Jason just push him into the canoe. I think that's even worse than zombie dad coming out of the lake.
You know, the one thing I never understood why they didn't just make him go with the original idea they did with the zombie look instead of him look like he was just playing
That
with
was the
dirt down there.
producer that screwed that up.
It was so
Yeah,
stupid, that part.
yeah. And I talked to Laura about this. Laura, very good natured. She certainly understood my issues with part seven. So part seven's not one I revisit very often, you know. But And I got nothing against the actor that played Nick. It wouldn't have mattered who it was. I hated that. And quite
I got you.
frankly, yeah, I have major issues with that right there. Um, and boy, I wish these movies would go back to Final Girls. Enough of this multi-survivors thing, So because part of it is the isolation thing that makes it work. Yeah.
For sure, especially in Alien. You remember how Scarlet Weather had
You
to
know what?
isolate
To
her
me, Sigourney Weaver's Ellen Ripley was one of the ultimate final girls.
because she was all by herself at the end with
Yep.
the alien, and she had to do anything to possibly just get rid of the alien and shoot it out of the shaft, and even the
Yep.
second one too. So I thought she had limited stuff to fight this alien, and she had to survive by herself. And I thought she did an awesome job. It's just like with Heather Langenkamp and Nightmare on Elm Street. She was just saying all the shots by herself and doing all those things
Heather
before.
Langenkamp too. Yes,
Yeah.
absolutely.
So yeah, she fought Freddy on her own.
Hmm.
So for all the time, and even with like Scorley, she fought the alien on her own. So for sure.
Well, to me, I the final girls in the Friday the 13th franchise, none of them really did it on their own, except for Alice in part one. But she loses points on the fact that, yeah, she sole survived part one. She did not sole survive Jason, though. That's the problem. And Jason kind of made it look easy on her. But and if it what but I often look at it this way. If it wasn't for the biker guy in part three, Chris Higgins was gone. She was pretty much gone.
Part three was my gateway to this franchise. That was my very first one I watched on this watching this franchise before I watched the rest to see what happened before that and then what happened after. What got me was remember when she hits him with the axe and she just comes
Mhm.
back at him. There's geez, he keeps coming back, and even when he gets hanged and everything, because as a kid you see it differently. But I thought that was my gateway to the franchise. Just so you know, part three.
I like part three, but had it been up to me, I would have had Debbie be the final survivor because number one, she was a lot more likable. Chris Higgins was not very likable. And plus, and I've talked to Tracy Savage about this, her character Debbie was pregnant, and it's almost like the writers forgot about it. Imagine a pregnant final girl.
They mentioned that, and then it just gets pushed to the way after, and then she gets killed.
And not only that, Debbie was probably the one character that didn't shit all over Shelley.
No, and I know Shelley was just I get why some people hate on him, but I just Shelley was just trying to get people to like him in his own way, which I know sometimes it can be annoying the way he was doing it, but and then yeah, it's just on she was one of the ones that were good to him because even the it was supposed to be love his love interest in the movie also gets uh, also you know gets mad at him as well for help. So so yeah,
Yeah.
and he's a
But
lawyer now. So
oh, he's gonna be at Frightmare in the Falls, but I'm not gonna meet him because he turned my show down. And even when I approached him about Hearts of Darkness, the making of the Final Friday, never responded. So I got a rule. If they turn my show down, I'm not gonna financially support them at a con. So that's my rule on that, you know. I've had Tracy Savage on here and I've had David Cadams on there on here. I'm happy to go meet them, you know. But but Larry Zerner said to me basically that he's tired of answering the same questions, blah 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 blah. Okay. Well, I hope you're tired of signing your name because I'm going to spare you from having to sign one more, you know. So I know that sounds very bitter, But after my 13 fanboy experience, I'm I work as a cleaner, so I'm very humbled by that. I don't need people that have had the privilege of being in these movies and getting the certain accolades looking down on me, you know? So I won't put up with that. So
I
those
will
that,
say I will say this about 13 fan, but I disagreed who was the villain. I disagreed 100% who was the villain.
well,
I totally disagree. Especially I know who originally was supposed to do it. So
I'd interviewed Tom Matthews, and he was supposed to be in the movie. And despite what Debbie Suvorhees says, I know why Tom Matthews really left the project. So, and he says
yeah,
it right in the second interview I did with him. I had him on here 3 times. I know why he left the project. So I don't know what it was. Debbie Sue just did not like me, and Judy Aronson. I mean, she accused me of. I got accused of stalking Ted White, and this is right in the first interview I did with him. Gave me her and Kane Hodder's contact info, not
oh
brought
yeah.
live on the air, and he talked them both up. Kane, I just left a voice message. I didn't reach out to them right away. I'll tell you what happened because I didn't want to freak them out. I was kind of nervous about that. But what had happened was Dick Miller had passed away. And when Dick Miller passed away, it was an eye opener because 5 months prior, I had Dick Miller on the podcast.
Oh yeah.
And yeah, I didn't even have Dick Miller on my list of people to reach out to, but I just thought, gee, he's doing a lot of the conventions. I didn't even know if he'd even do the show. I was surprised I had Dick Miller on the show, he and his
Is
wife.
is Dick Miller
And
the same one? I don't mean to interrupt, but sorry.
yeah, go ahead.
Is Dick Miller the one who always shows in Terminator and who's always the gun guy? Is that
Yeah, he was in
yeah,
Gremlins as Mr. Futterman. He's in a lot of the
yeah.
Roger Corman movies.
That's right. Yeah, okay. Just want to make sure. I figured that's who it was. That's awesome. So
I had him on 5 months before he passed. And I was like, okay, I got these numbers. I probably should give it a shot. Kane, I left a voice message, never heard back. Okay, fine. Judy Aronson, I got a response. Somebody answered the phone saying I had the wrong number. Female saying I had the wrong number. Okay. I gave Ted a call about it. Figured maybe he gave me the wrong number. And Ted goes, no, that's the right number. I said, do you think maybe I might have made her nervous? And he goes, she would never do that. So I gave it some time and I tried again months later. Actually, I tried again when I was started getting involved with 13 Fanboy. This time somebody answered the phone claiming to be her cousin. So that was the last time I called. Um, I got accused of calling her 23 times, which number one, no woman's going to put up with that. And I can prove that I didn't. I mean, that's what phone records are for. So, and that came, I believe, if memory served me correctly, from Debbie Sue. Debbie Sue or one of the producers, one or the other. But nonetheless, not only can I prove that I didn't do this, but there was screenshots that were sent to me by somebody from the film where smack was being talked about me on their little Facebook circle jerk. I didn't know this was going on. And Orlando Rodriguez, who was one of the people in the movie, sent me the screenshots and said, Greg, you need to see this because this is bullshit. Anyway, when Debbie Sue found out that I had found out about it, because I wasn't supposed to know about this gossip, she went on a witch hunt to find out who sent it to me. She pointed the finger at Rob Mahoney, who didn't send it. She went on to accuse Carrie Yates, who was, I believe, an associate producer on 13 Fanboy who lives in the UK. She's got autistic children and very busy raising them. She got accused of it. And I can tell you right now, and Orlando Rodriguez came out and finally on live broadcast said that he had sent them because he got tired of other people being blamed for it. So I don't have much respect for Debbie Sue Voorhees and Judy Aronson. I have no respect for her. And then there's other people like Vincent DeSante and some other people from the film that took Debbie Sue's side because, well, I must be guilty because I'm not famous. Tracy Savage, Lar Park Lincoln, Tom Matthews. Tom Matthews just laughed about the Judy Aronson thing. And Nancy McLaughlin, Adam Marcus. They all believe me. So there you
Yeah,
go.
yeah. I will say this about it, like any movie project. There's no need for any drama stuff going on. You know what I mean? I'm just sick and tired of it. I've seen it so many times,
Well,
and
that's why I
groups
don't
and
support
movies.
these. Yeah, that's why
Yeah,
I don't support these projects anymore. I was supporting, I lost my dad to ALS, and I remember the Ice Bucket Challenge had happened. And after Robin Williams died, there was one came out called the Doubtfire Face Challenge for suicide and depression, where you take a pie in the face and you nominate three people. And I've had guests from my show do that challenge, including Law Marie Taylor. She did it. Well, Debbie Sue got nominated by, not by me, but from others. And she clearly didn't care for it. And she's one of these thoughts and prayers people, which amounts to nothing, as we've seen. And Judy Aronson was all down to do it until apparently, and I'm assuming Debbie Sue got to her, and I don't know why, is a good fucking cause. And by the way, Nancy McLaughlin did the challenge in front of props from Jason Lives, and Sandy Johnson did it while her husband was dressed up as Michael Myers. She was Judith Myers, of course.
yeah.
Like people
I
were
had her
having
on. Yeah,
Sandy's awesome.
yeah. She's
So
awesome.
so my relationship with 13 Fanboy is not positive. So yeah, I backed over with my car. Um, I will not I will not associate with Debbie Sue Voorhees again. And I will well, apparently Judy Arts has been avoiding cons because of me, but it's like I'm glad I got that kind of power because I just made my first US con in April. I was at Chiller. And I was there because Lisa Langlois from class of 1984 is a friend of mine and she invited me. So um, Judy brought that on herself. All she had to do was contact Ted White and ask about me. That was it. None of this needed to happen. So, but nonetheless, fuck 13 fanboy. Uh, the movie did poorly at the box office because Debbie Sue don't know how to market shit. And Damien Leone did the same thing with Terrifier 2. The only difference is he avoided doing everything that Debbie Sue did wrong, and his movie was a hit. So there
And
you go.
and I love the Terrifier films. I love Art the Clown. I even had David Out Fortune on my channel. He's an awesome dude. I just think he took over that role and took it to the next level. I think because it, played a character that doesn't talk. You have to be
I've had him on, yeah.
creepy and make you uncomfortable, and also be funny at the same time. And I'm excited to see what Terrifier 3 does next month. Um, I'm excited for it, and I do love the Terrifier films. And even with Terrifier 2, they had more like character development and story wise with the Selena and Jonathan's character. So and and I love that fact. I love the fact that it's all practical effects, which I prefer. And I love that fact he's not taking it to a studio, because studio would just tell him to water it down and not and change it up. So I love the fact he's still keeping it the way he's doing it. So his
One more
vision.
thing about Debbie Sue. There's people from her movie, Part 5, A New Beginning, that are still in touch with me. In fact, Melanie Kinnaman reached out to me privately. She's been on the show a couple times. And she asked if I could get her into Frightmare in the Falls. And Tiffany Helm is coming back on the show. She's been on twice now. It's funny. None of these people believe the bullshit about me and 13 Fanboy. So there you go. There you go. But anyway, on to happier things. How long have you been doing your podcast?
I've been doing my podcast for 3 years. Um, I had to go through a couple channel changes because my account got hacked and my views got wiped. But now they can't do that. It's security. But I've been doing YouTube in general for 3 years now. I went from Flett's House of Horror. I was Flett Libs, Return of Living Flett, but now I'm Flett Movies Pop Culture 13, which is going to stay that way. So I've been doing this channel for 3 years, but I've been had to go through a lot of changes because of silliness.
Hmm.
But I kept my passion going. I wasn't going to stop because a few things, and I've been doing my Flat Moves Pop 13 channel since since then, even though with name changes and stuff. But even though I had to change my channel too, so channel changes. But no, but as Let's Move Pop Culture 13, it's been a year for like just as Let's Move Pop Culture 13, but I've been doing YouTube for 3 years now
Hmm.
altogether. So
Do you get to do the cons?
no, not where I am. I don't.
Oh, okay.
But
I
I'm in I do I did my I don't get to do the cons with my YouTube channel, but I
no,
have
but
there
I
was
mean, have you got to attend them and meet some of the
oh
guests?
yes, I have, because I have we have a grand con in my city. I met Rose McGowan, Tatum from Scream. Um I met um I met Ryan Hurst, who was in Sons of Anarchy, Opie. Um and I even met wrestling legend Bret Hart at con as well. Because this is a newly con. It's not like the veteran cons that's been going on for years. Monster Palooza and all that, and Day of the Dead and all that other awesome cons. That are always going year round. This is a new con. It's been only going a few years, so they're still fairly new. But it's amazing the guests they've been getting on recently. So yeah, I've been trying to go to more cons because it's an amazing way to meet the people that you grew up watching, you know, the ones. So yeah, I do try to go to cons as best as I can. Not it doesn't always work out because of life and stuff, but I do
Hmm.
try to go to them as much as I can. There's even one in Calgary too. So, but yeah, I do try to go to the ones in the States as well if I can. That's for sure.
What was it like meeting Bret Hart?
Oh, Bret Hart was one of the nicest wrestling legends that we ever met, and he was one of the most kindest people that we ever met. And we got to go to his panel that he did later on. Yeah, he was definitely one of the nicest person, especially for the first wrestler I ever met. He was very nice and kind. So I had a good, you know, good meeting with him. It
If
was
Vince had been smart, he would have fired Shawn Michaels and kept Bret Hart.
oh
Yeah,
yes. During the panel I heard Bret Hart talk about Vince. So for
yeah.
sure.
But nonetheless, uh, I've had a few wrestlers on here. I've had Larry Zbyszko on here.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah, because he told some great stories about Bruno Sammartino. This is my partner. This is my tag team partner, Skittles,
Skittles, not is it a male or female?
male.
Male, nice. Yeah, I got a cat as well. So
Yeah, Skittles come over here, and I thought I'm going to exploit him. He's saying, "Does the guest have treats? Does he have treats?"
if I was able to give you the treats from the stream, then yes.
Skittles, they can't do the video drone thing. They can't put it through the screen. They just
No.
can't. No. Yeah, they just can't. Yeah, my buddy. No, I've lived here my whole life
Yeah.
in New Brunswick here, and it was an eye opener for me because in 2017, I had actress Lisa Langwa on here for the second time from the movie Class of 1984, and we got talking about travel, and she asked what was stopping me, and she invited me to assist her at Horrorama in Toronto, and I couldn't say no to that. So it was my first time on a plane. Um, she met me when I got to Toronto, and I'm going to tell you, going from New Brunswick to Toronto was quite the Wizard of Oz, we're not in Kansas anymore experience for me. My first time on a subway, Lisa taught me all about that stuff, and she and I have become very good friends. And I've done a few cons with her. And I will be seeing her when I go to Toronto at the end of next month. So, uh, and again, she doesn't buy the bullshit from 13 Fanboy either. Because we traveled to Niagara Falls when I had her, when I assisted her at that event. So, yeah. So, but nonetheless, I've done four horror-ramas. I've done four Frightmare in the Falls. Well, this will be my fourth Frightmare in the Falls. I've done one Toronto Comic Con, and I did Chiller in New Jersey, which I would have liked better had I not been in immigration when I landed for as long as I was, for like 2 hours. But it was still a great event, and uh, I mean, I've said I probably won't do another one in the States again, but never say never. I know I said before 2017, I said I was never going to travel, and well, so yeah, but I love the uh, doing the conventions, a lot of fun, and Lisa taught me a lot about doing business cards, and she was the one that helped me get started on my passport too, so I could do the conventions in the States. So all turned out quite well. Going back
Oh,
to the wrestling thing, I'm also I've had, speaking of tribute interviews, I've had Roddy Piper's son and daughter on the show here.
oh, that's cool.
Yeah. In fact, I'm still in touch with his daughter, Ariel Teal Piper. So I felt so bad when Roddy Piper passed away,
Yeah, that was sad back in 2014, if I remember.
2015.
2015. Okay.
Yeah. But I was very happy to have them on in tribute to him. So, no, I've had a few, and Princess Victoria, who's been retired since 1984, she's been on here, I think, 4 times now. She is a hoot.
Yeah,
So
you mentioned Roddy Piper, and Roddy Piper's in one of my favorite John Carpenter films, which is They Live.
they live.
I love that alley brawl with him and Keith David because he's just trying to tell him to look, put the glasses on, and it's just that brawl goes on for a while. And it's one of my favorites, and it's so ahead of its time movie. So yeah,
You want me to tell you, if I ever meet John Carpenter, if I ever meet him, I'm going to ask him what it was like to be in attendance at WrestleMania 3. Because to me, that's the wrestling event that's never been topped. And that was where he approached Piper at that event. And he also approached Alice Cooper for Prince of Darkness because Alice Cooper was in Jake the Snake Roberts' corner and
yep,
his, yeah. WrestleMania 3 to me is the greatest wrestling event I've ever seen. So you had that great Steamboat Savage match on it,
yeah, oh yeah.
yeah,
And
yeah.
then the iconic moment of Hulk Hogan slamming Andre, which
Yeah, but here's the thing. Vince McMahon likes to make it out that Hulk Hogan was the first to do that. No, he wasn't. No, he wasn't. Harley Race and Antonio Inoki both did it in the 70s, and Andre was big back then too.
oh yes, I
Yeah,
already knew that. Yes.
and they did it without the steroids.
Hmm.
So, nonetheless, um, now I hated the Hogan Andre WrestleMania 4 match, but WrestleMania 3 match, it had the suspense behind it. So,
For sure, and there was so many great matches on that card to begin with. Like
yeah,
throughout, there was a very entertaining. I love how back then the crowds were really into it.
yeah. Instead of them having to fake it today.
Yeah, I will say this. There's some crowds, even when certain people return, the crowds are like just tame, nothing.
Yeah.
So not so once in a while you still get it like a big crowd that gets excited when someone returns, but some other people return. I'm like, okay, really, people, no one's going to excited. Like, do you not know who this wrestler is? It just shows you. You know what I mean?
Well, last night when I was at work, I was listening to you do a stream with 2 other people on your top 30
It
horror
was
films of the 80s.
oh yeah, it was three other people. Yeah,
3 other people. And I was listening to that and I was thinking to myself, what are some of my favorite horror films of the 80s? And I got thinking and thinking and thinking, and I thought, I'm not going to mention a top 10 on here. Instead, I'm going to mention my favorite horror film each year of the 1980s. I'll do it that way. You guys mentioned, I think, a couple of them, but a lot of them you did not. For 1980, for me, it's Brian De Palma's Dress to Kill.
hmm
That's my favorite from 1980. As much as I admire The Shining, and I love The Changeling, I'm glad you brought that one up. But to me, Dress to Kill is my favorite horror film of 1980. For 1981, it's Abel Ferrara's Miss 45 with Zoe Tamerlis Lund.
nice.
I've I've had her widow on my show 5 times talking about her. Um, I love that film. For 1982, I'm going with Mark Lester's Class of 1984. Now, some people say, well, that's a really a suspense thriller. Well, people can classify The Terminator as a slasher film, then I can classify Class of 1984 as a
Yeah,
horror.
for sure, and everyone sees the film differently. If you think it's a horror film, it's a horror film.
Well, you
So
guys brought up Predator, you know?
yeah,
Yep. So I mean, I'm like,
Well, it does. Well, it starts off as an action film and it turns into a sci-fi action horror, and that's what it
Yep.
is. So,
But I would go with class of 1984 for 1982. And meeting Lisa have really changed my life. 1983, I think I'm going to go with Curtains.
nice.
Yep. Which is a Canadian horror slasher film. 1984, I could go with Nightmare on Elm Street. I could, but I think I'm going to go with Friday the 13th, the final chapter. I love that film. 1985, I'm going to go with Fright Night, my
Nice.
favorite vampire film. 1986, I'm going to go with Friday the 13th, Part 6, Jason Lives. 1987, I think I'm going to go with Dario Argento's Opera.
Nice.
Yeah. 1988, I'm going to go with Killer Clowns from Outer Space, which you guys mentioned. And 1989, I think I go with Intruder, which was a
Nice.
horrible title for that supermarket horror film. Yeah.
Yeah, it's been. I have. That's the one film from the '80s I still need to watch.
But
I'm gonna be honest here. Intruder.
yeah.
Yeah, that's still
Yes.
the that's one of the ones I still need to watch.
Yeah, Ted Raimi's in it. Yeah, it's a slasher film takes part in a supermarket. But
Yeah,
those are ones that I really like. Um, I know you're going to do the 70s, and I haven't put a lot of thought into the 70s. What I would pick, I'd have to really, really think about that. Like Frenzy, I like The Exorcist, Black Christmas, uh, Jaws is great, Deep Red, Suspiria, Halloween, of course,
yep.
Carrie, When a Stranger Calls, the original
Alien.
one, Alien, yep. And there's quite a lot. But I like a lot of movies from the 60s, 70s, and 80s, and even from the 50s. Some of my favorite Hitchcock movies were from the 50s. So
Yeah, there's some really good ones from there
here's a question I have for you. Do you remember the first movie you ever seen in theaters?
that I've seen in theaters.
Like
Um,
growing up, what's the first movie you've ever seen in movie theater?
oh, what was it? Um, oh, it was my dad took me to this one, and this was 2000. This was Godzilla 2000 was my very first movie in the theater. Yeah, not
Yeah, that's
kidding.
my response to that too. Yeah.
Yeah, but but what I got out of it, it was one of my precious memories with my dad. That's what I got out
Yeah.
of it. But yeah, that was my very first movie experience. So
My first was when I was 5 years old. We were at the drive-in here. We don't have them here now, but we had drive-ins back at the time. 1977, we saw Pete's Dragon. Not a horror film, but we saw that at the drive-in. And we used to see a lot of films at the drive-in. We saw the Star Wars trilogy at the drive-in, E.T., Raiders of the Lost Ark, a lot of re-released Disney classics and stuff like that. So,
yeah,
yeah.
but even though I wasn't like born in that era, but I still like my parents introduced me all those classics in a way. So
Hmm.
when I did the see in the theater, I still got to experience them the way they were meant to be.
Well,
I
I
even when I was working at the theater
yeah.
10 years ago, I got to see part four on the big screen because we were doing they always did a party for the people who worked there. And one of them, we got to watch Friday 13 Part 4 on the movie theater screen. So someone brought
That's
it.
one I would like to see on the big screen.
And it was very cool.
That's why I like, especially when I'm in Toronto. They got a lot of revival theaters. and seeing some of these movies on the big screen. Like I've seen The Exorcist 5 times on the big screen, but never when it came out because I would have been only one in 1973. But I've seen it 5 times since on the big screen. I've seen Halloween on the big screen, but again, not at 6 years old in 1978. So I always tell people if you get a chance to see any of these movies on a big screen presentation with an audience, take it. Take it, you know. It's always a blast. So I always try to check out a few of them when I'm in Toronto, when I can. So yeah, yeah,
Oh yeah, I watched Halloween many, many times. I have a huge history with that franchise to begin with. So
yeah. I don't like where the franchise arrived. I think David Gordon Green should have been fired. He started out fine with Halloween 2018. Um, Halloween Kills had a lot of good stuff in it. I especially loved seeing Kyle Richards and what they did with her. It was great to see her.
which out of the legacy characters she got the best out of the legacy characters that they
Oh,
brought back.
boy, she grew up beautiful.
And which
But
is cool, it's the same actress from 78 too.
yeah, but here's the thing. Allison lost her dad at the end of the 2018 film. Again, spoiler alert, but picking off her mom, I thought was overkill. It was overkill. They didn't need to do it. You want me to tell you what they should have done if they were smart?
What?
When they did the beat down on him and he did the whole fight back, those that are left when the carnage is done, actually, I don't even know if I would have even had him kill all those people in that climax. Because after they had done the beatdown, I would have had them turn around and he'd be gone. And then you hear the music. I would not have gotten rid of Judy Greer. Like I said, Allison character already lost one parent. That was a point where they weren't fucking thinking. And that's what I would have done. And I would have kept to the original plan and have all three take place in one night, have the third one end at dawn. That's what I would have done.
You know, I will say this. I do love how Christopher Nielsen did with each mask for each movie. I
Oh,
do love how
sure.
I love how he did that with the weather mask from 18 and then the burn for kills and ends. That's that's one of my favorite aspects from that trilogy is what he did with those masks. I thought, and I also thought I'm blanking out his name. James Ducournau was an awesome Myers because he put so much hard work being Myers, and I think he did an amazing job. Um, maybe not sometimes the sometimes the final product that they give, but he still either way. And those say what you want, like what about all those movies. I still think he did the best he could, the
He did
best
a
as far
fine
as
job, but
yeah.
again, another thing too, and this goes back to Halloween Kills, because you had that big hysteria in the hospital. It would have made more sense had the hysteria been as a result of Halloween 1 and Halloween 2. They should have kept Halloween 2 canon. The brother
They
sister arc they could play off as a rumor, whatever the case, but they should have kept Halloween 2 canon.
even though they remember when they show Annie's death in the flashback, it is from Halloween 2.
Yep. Now, Halloween ends as it's weighed on me since I've watched it, and the more I think about the film, the more I hate it. I got nothing against the actor who played Corey Cunningham,
No, because
but
I think he did a good
introducing him in
job.
the, huh?
I'll just say I think he did a good job, but he should have been introduced sooner. That's all.
Well, you know what? That third film, what they did with Michael Myers, like reducing him to the simp or whatever, worked against it. I mean, they were saying, even Jamie Lee Curtis was saying, a lot of fans are not going to like this movie. Then why fucking make it? Why make it? Don't make the movie if it's not going to appeal to the general fan base. You
Yeah.
know? Like it's like David Gordon Green was going over his way to piss people off. And then his Exorcist the beginning, also shit. So not impressed. He should go back to Pineapple Express and stuff like that he did well at, you know? So don't let him have it put his hands on another horror franchise. Yeah.
Yeah, but Mike Flanagan on whoever he can touch the Exorcist. So,
Huh?
I was just saying Mike Flanagan can touch the Exorcist though. So if you heard they're doing with Mike Flanagan doing his new interpretation of it,
Sure.
so
Sure.
it's because Mike Flanagan I think is just an awesome director in general.
Well,
Everything he touches is like oh
I hated what they did with Ellen Burstyn in the new one. That was stupid. It's like they brought her back for what? And another thing too, Ellen's character, Chris McNeil, said something that to me was totally out of character. She says, you got talking about not being able to uh, go in the room in the original because of the she wasn't in the it wasn't in the hierarchy. So they threw this woke shit into it. When you watch the original film, that had nothing to do with it.
and just considering what I know, that definitely didn't have nothing to do with it. So
Yep. I mean, you had two priests that gave their life to save her daughter. So I'm sorry, David Gordon Green can keep his hands off these fucking franchises. If that's the kind of shit he's going to do, stay the fuck out of them. That's where I stand on that. So I did not like Halloween Ends. I like how they got rid of Myers, but I think they could have still done that and kept it the same night. And I think it would have been far better had they kept it all in one night. Because you'll notice another thing with Halloween Ends. The legacy characters like Kyle Richards, she did nothing in Ends.
you just see her as a bartender.
Yeah, and the cop, they reintroduced this lame little thing about what rose bushes or some shit like that. Sees him in the grocery store, and I'm like, I didn't like what they did with Halloween Ends. Actually, Halloween Ends makes me almost prefer to watch Halloween Resurrection in comparison. If you can just imagine that.
Which I don't hear
Yeah,
people say that often. So
yeah. And that's not a compliment because Halloween Ends was an embarrassment. Not Halloween Ends. Halloween Resurrection was an embarrassment to the Jason X caliber. Yeah,
yeah, I get what you're saying though.
yeah. So how many conventions have you gotten to do?
Um, so this one, so only a few because my life has been busy. Only just a few, just to be on
Yeah,
the safe side.
I
Just a
hear
few.
you.
Because it's been tough, that's all.
Yeah. Well, I recommend you reach out to Eileen Dietz from The Exorcist.
Yeah,
You want to interview somebody from The Exorcist, and she's awesome. She was the Pazuzu. She was this right here. I got this from her.
cool.
Yeah, I purchased this off her website, and she said rather than pay the postage for it, she said, why not she just give it to me at Frightmare in the Falls last year? And that's what we did. She is a lovely person, and if you love The Exorcist, you should reach out to her.
Oh, I
Um,
do, I do. Yeah.
oh, then okay, we'll see if we can make that happen. She's very accessible. Um, Let me see. What else do you got coming up for your podcast that you'd like to plug on here?
Well, um, this Thursday, I'm bringing on the Heavy Metal Beer Club. We'll be discussing Halloween theme type movies and heavy metal and all that stuff. I'm bringing them on, so that's gonna be a lot of fun. Um, I on of course we you mentioned on the Sunday I'm doing my very first collab of Gar from VO Tasties. We're discussing our top 15 semi horror films, so that's gonna be a lot of fun. And of course I do have a trick or treat watch party coming soon, like from 2007, the one with Sam. Bringing on two guests for that, and I do have other stuff that I am working on that's gonna be announced very soon.
I like to trick or treat. I met Quinn Lord at Frightmare in the Falls. I'd like to get him on here, you know. But yeah, that and Creepshow are two of the best anthologies.
Those are my two favorite Fulci films.
Yeah, yeah. And I'm not a big anthology person. I like a straight movie, straight screenplay, but
I,
those two
I
I like.
I love it when anthologies are done very, very well, and how each story, is
Yeah,
done very, very well, and it keeps you engaged, and they also come connected with each other too at the same time.
yeah.
That's what Trick or Treat did for sure. They brought all
Yeah.
the stories towards at the end.
Yeah, I enjoyed those two particularly, yeah. But 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 yeah, no, I've enjoyed listening to your show. Would you like to plug where people all the places where people can hear you and your social media?
Yeah, like I said, you can find me. You can find my show on YouTube, Flett's Movies Pop Culture 13. You can also find me on Twitter, Instagram, and also have a Facebook group, Flett's Movies Pop Culture 13. That's all the places where you can find me. That's where I'm on. So if you want to follow me on in Twitter, what's X now really, X and Instagram and Facebook, but also subscribe to my channel on YouTube. So
Do you have any dream guests that you would like to have on your show?
you know, one of my dream guests, and I'm still hoping this would happen, would be Mike Flanagan. I'm still working on that. That would be cool. Hella Lane Camp would be a cool one. Um, um, uh, there's also, I think, um, Ned Campbell would be cool. Just because she's a cool actress. I would love to have um, I would love to have Tom Holland, who directed Child's Play, on here, the director. So many more
If
amazing
I had
people.
Tom Holland, now I love Child's Play, but I would pick his ear about Fright Night.
I also would talk to him about Psycho 2 because that's one of my favorite sequels to a movie. And they did an amazing job because that's what would be hard to follow Hitchcock, and they did an amazing job with that.
Now, if I ever meet Nev Campbell, I'm not a Scream fan. I respect the first Scream. It's
Speaking
just
of,
after watching Gail and Dewey get stabbed multiple times in multiple sequels and continue to survive. I mean, look at Scream 6. You had a guy that there continued to knife and knife and knife, and you get after a
and technically
while,
he should be dead, right?
I get tired of that. I get really tired of that.
Well,
So I've kind of checked out of Scream. But if I
which I
ever meet
understand.
Nev Campbell, I get her to sign something related to wild things.
And I'm also a fan of The Craft, so The
Yeah.
Craft she did just prior to Scream. So, and there's so other
Hmm.
films I would love to talk to her about too.
Yeah. Yeah. Absolutely. Absolutely. Anything else you want to plug on here before we close off?
Nope. That's all I got for now. I appreciate you, Craig, for inviting me on to interview with me, and this was a lot of fun for sure. I appreciate the invite.
Well, I know you sent me a friend's request, and normally I don't friend people I don't know unless I have a lot of people in common with them. So you did, and I noticed you sent me an invite to your group, and I was like, okay, this guy's legit. So I checked you out, of course, while I was at work, and listened to that while I was working, and I enjoyed what I heard. So yeah, kept me
Oh, thank you.
entertained. I enjoyed it, and I want to encourage you to keep doing what you're doing.
Well, thank you. Yeah, I'm gonna keep doing what I do, and as long as I can keep this channel going, I'm gonna keep doing what I'm doing, keep my passion going, talk about the movies that I love, and even interviewing people that I love as well, and collabing with all the other awesome, who I'm friends with there that are also have their own YouTube channels too as well. Because we got an amazing community
Mhm.
together because we all share the same passion, movies, but especially horror. So,
I should connect you with Scotty McCoy,
oh,
who just
I have met him before. Yes, I had him on a few
I've
times.
had Scotty on my show so many times, and Scotty's a great guy. I think you
Yeah,
would connect well with him. Yeah. So you met him?
yeah, I had him. I had him when I was a different name back then. So, but unfortunately, you can't see that video anymore because what I told you, everything got wiped. So,
You should save your stuff on like
yeah, I know. I'm learning to do that now. So,
yeah, because I've got all my interviews, even the ones that are just audio only from before Zoom. I've got saved. So
yeah, that's what I've been doing with StreamYard. I've been saving everything now because, and then of course, I got everything protected now, so that can't happen anymore. So,
reach out to Scotty. Scotty will do your show.
for sure.
Scotty's
And
on my friends list, and reach out to Eileen Dietz from The Exorcist. She's on my friends list.
okay, sounds good. I will do.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. Well, God bless you. Go attend some more conventions and keep doing what you're doing. I think it's terrific, and you get a passion for it. I say go for it.
For sure, 100%.
Absolutely. You take care and God bless.
Yeah, you enjoy the rest of your day and have a good week, Greg. See you later.
Take care.